Here I am fixing my motherfucking house again, except y'all know I'm not fixing my house right now. I'm building this closet for my mom. Now, I do think on the last YouTube video, I pretty much told y'all like sorry, but I do not feel like doing a voiceover. I'ma just play some music. And on the last video, there was a couple spots I wish I would have stopped and paused the music and like spoke, but I wasn't really thinking. I be forgetting I got free will and I could do whatever the fuck I want. And so like I be forgetting, like I be feeling like if I put music on the voiceover, then I can't talk. And if I talk on the voiceover, then I can't do music. And so like somebody had to comment and tell me like, girl, you could do both. I don't know. But anyways, I guess my point was I'm probably going to do that on this voiceover. I'm going to talk a little bit and then I'm going to play some music in the places where I don't really need to be talking. Drywall finishing. Let's see what the things is that you need to know about drywall sanding. For one, I sand in a circular motion for the most part. You will see me go like side to side, back and forth sometimes if I need to. But for the most part, I sand in a circular motion. It's kind of hard in the corners. You don't got no choice but to sand up and down in the corners. So I sand lightly. Like, I don't really push my sanding sponge up against the wall hard because you can gouge the drywall. You will leave lines and streaks in the drywall from where you sand it and push too hard on the sanding sponge. Like especially on the corners of it. And so yeah, I sand in a circular motion for the most part to prevent gouging the drywall. Now, another thing, you don't want to sand too hard, as in like you don't want to push too hard on the sander against the wall because you also I sand lightly because you don't want to tear into the tape. You can over sand and take all of the drywall mud off the wall and expose the tape. And if you happen to do that, should you do that, you need to mud it again. And so while you over here thinking you done with the drywall, you just need to sand and you could paint, you sand too much and you tear that tape, you're gonna have to mud it again. You set yourself backwards. So be careful when you sand it. Now another thing, y'all see them lines right there where my horizontal seam meet my vertical seam? That's really the only shit that should be being sanded, is where your knife ran one way and it ran another way and it left a line. That's the only stuff you should really be sanding. Now, if there's anything in the wall, like you could literally see that is where I ran my knife horizontally and then ran it vertically, or I ran it, you could see like, okay, anyway, just look at it. I don't want to treat it like it's common sense, but you could see where like I ran my knife in one direction and it left a streak. And so that's why I be leaving it alone when the mud is wet, because I be knowing like I could sand that. Now, anything that like dips into the wall, like a hole, like a divot, you have to fill that with mud. Anything that sticks off of the wall, like those lines, you could sand that. I don't know. There was something else I wanted to point out about drywall finishing. Oh, I run my hand on the wall, and part of it is to get the dust off the wall, but part of it is because I am actually feeling the surface to see if it's rough, to see if it's smooth, to see if there's anything that I'm missing. Because not only should your walls look flat, but they should also feel flat. Now, I don't really got nothing else to say about drywall sanding. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna play the music. If you want to skip to me painting, I think I started painting at 6 minutes. Ooh, I'm a liar. One more thing. You see how you could really see the tape through my drywall mud, for real? That is why on one of my videos I said I really, like, personally was not satisfied with my level of drywall finish, because I do feel like that needed another coat of drywall mud. But because, this was a rush job, we was trying to hurry up, get the closet done before mom had the baby, I just left it and we painted it. And whenever mom looked at the closet after it was all painted and stuff, she literally was like, wow, like, that's crazy. You can't even tell where the seams was. And it made me feel a lot better, because like because maybe it's because I'm the one who did the work, but I could see exactly where my seams was at. And so like you you definitely not supposed to be able to see the seams. And so the fact that she couldn't see them was like, okay, maybe I did good. But the fact that I could see them was like, maybe it's because I'm the one who did the work, but maybe it's because that shit needed mudded again. I don't know. Oh, so that's another thing. You do have to mud your screw holes. You're supposed to mud your screw holes 3 times, and then you also sand those. I only got like 2 or 3 screw holes that I had to mud, because when you do a small space like this, I intentionally put all of my screws around the edges. That way the screws would be covered when I did the tape. And I also intentionally put my screws around the edges. That way the screws will be covered whenever I do the door trim. So there really was, the screws that I mudded was screws that I put next to where the door trim was going to go, that I felt like might have been a little bit too far from the door, and the trim, there was a chance the trim might not have covered it. But other than that, like I said, I only had to mud like 2 or 3 screws, because all of my other screws I intentionally placed so that the tape would cover it, so that just to save myself work, so that I don't got to mud these seams and mud all these screw holes. Now, on a bigger job, a general rule of thumb that they taught us in school is that you use 25 screws for 1 sheet of drywall. And when you're calculating your material, you account for 25 screws per sheet of drywall. And I believe the reason why they do that is because my drywall sheets, I didn't know that they don't do it everywhere until I started posting. My drywall sheets got X's on them. Okay, do y'all see the X's on the wall? There's 3 rows of them. Okay, that is 1 drywall sheet. And so they say you do a screw at the top, in the top corner. You do a screw on every 1, 2, 3 X's, and then you do a screw in the bottom corner, and that's 5 screws. But you do it on every stud. So you do 5 screws on every stud, just like that. 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, and 3 in the middle. Now, like I said, for a smaller job like this, I did not do that. I put my screws around the edges so that I could cover it with my tape. But just really use common sense. It is a sheet of drywall, and it is heavy. If it's a smaller sheet of drywall and it's not as heavy, like whatever, you could tell whether your drywall sheet is being held up or not. Another good way that you could tell is hit the drywall. Hit the drywall, not hit it, like don't punch it, but like hit it with your hand open and see if it shakes. If it shakes, it's not secured to the wall good enough. If it bounces in and out, it is not secured to the wall good enough, and you need to put more screws in. Now, let's get into primer and cutting in. Primer, paint, and cutting in. Right now, I am cutting in with the primer. I said it on a couple of my other videos. I do not know why I did not get the footage of me actually rolling out the walls with the primer, but I cut in with the primer, and then I rolled the walls with the primer. And primer is white. You can get your primer tinted other colors. I believe people get their primer tinted like a gray whenever they're doing bright, vibrant colors, so that you don't have to do so many coats. I believe. Don't quote me on it, but I want to say you could get your primer tinted. That's something I love about Sherman-Williams. Just ask the people. Okay, the people who work at the paint store, they be knowing shit. Okay, there be like different sheens of paint, like if you want flat or if you want matte or if you want satin and shit. And I don't be knowing the difference. I know flat don't got no shine, and I know glossy is like glossy, and then the other ones be in between. That's all I know. Okay, and I know what matte is, but damn it, you get the point. And so whenever I go to get the paint, I ask them, what should I use for the wall? And they be telling me, and I be forgetting every time. And every time I go, I ask them. So yeah, what the fuck was I saying? Oh, that was my point. If you want to know what the purpose of getting your primer tinted is, like, ask the people at Sherman-Williams. Facts, because I bet you any money they would know. Now, if you go there and you ask them and they don't know, I don't actually got no money for you. But I keep forgetting what the heck I was talking about. Anyways, I'm cutting in. And cutting in is when you take the paintbrush and you get everywhere where your roller cannot reach. Okay, and so really cutting in is the corners and like around your receptacles. Receptacles is a fancy word that just includes all of your light switches, all of your outlets, all of the fucking boxes in the wall for the electric. Yeah, they're called receptacles. So, you know, it's kind of just a broad term. That way you don't got to say your light switches, outlets, this and that, and this and that. You just say receptacles. But yeah, when you cut in, you cut around all your receptacles, and you cut in the corners. And I can't really think of what else you would cut in. You would cut in a doorway. You would cut in vents if there's vents in the wall. But yeah, you just cut in anything that you can't get with the roller. And so somebody had commented, a painter actually had commented on one of my videos and pretty much told me, like, you should roll the wall first and then cut in. And the reason why I roll the wall first is so that I could get as much as I can with the roller, and then I don't cut in as much with the brush. I guess is what they was getting at. Like, you know how much you're cutting in. When I cut in with my paintbrush first, before I roll, I just kind of go wide. Like, I just go a little wide. I go the width of the paintbrush. And so I don't really understand the logic of what that person was really trying to get at. But I was in the painters union and they taught us to cut in first and then roll your walls out. And the reason why is because you ever notice when you go to buy paint roller sleeves, there's different sized naps. The different sized naps leave a different texture or like pattern on the wall. Okay. And so when you roll your walls with a roller, it leaves like a pattern and a texture on the wall. And so when you paint the wall with a brush, it leaves a pattern and a texture on the wall. When you paint the wall with a brush, you could tell that is a brush stroke. You could see the lines in it from the paintbrush. Okay. And so when you roll with a roller, I cut in first with the paintbrush. And then when I come in with my roller, I overlap the paint that I put on the wall with the paintbrush with my roller. I overlap the paint strokes. I overlap the brush strokes with my paint roller. And I get as close as I can to the corner with my paint roller. I get as close as I can to whatever was cut in with my paint roller without obviously getting paint on it. And the reason why is because I want to cover up the brush stroke with the texture of the roller. I want the whole wall to have the same texture, pattern, whatever. And you can achieve that with the roller. Now, obviously, motherfuckers should not be looking in your motherfucking corners to see if they can see the fucking brush stroke. But it's just, I feel like that's a part of doing good work. So yeah. My personal preference from experience, my opinion, whatever that is a hill I will die on. Cut in first and then roll it. Oh, so that's another thing. Cutting in is best done with an angled brush. In my opinion, my own personal preference. I feel like when you use a square brush, it's too big and it's too fat and there's too many like bristles to be able to control them the way that you want to. And so I was using a square brush. I bought a new one at the store and was using the square brush because my angle brush is a little old. And I ended up putting the square brush away and using my angle brush anyways because I was fucking up the cut-in. I was fucking the cut-in. Not on the walls, actually. I had got the square brush to paint the trim, and I was using it to paint the trim. But you also have to cut in your trim where the trim meets the wall. So, like, the wall is gray, and the trim, I painted it white. And so, whenever I went to do the white paint on the trim, I had to cut in where the trim meet the wall. And yeah, I was using the square brush and it was messy. It was messy. And so I ended up cleaning the gray out of my angled paintbrush I would never even attempt. I don't know what I was thinking. I would never even attempt to cut in around the ceiling with a square brush. So I don't know why I tried to do that with the damn trim. But yeah, I think an angle brush is easier to control when you're cutting in. Now, whenever I first started painting, like, I ain't gonna lie, I forgot how to paint for a second and was just putting paint on the wall any kind of way. And then, like, it hit me like, girl, what the fuck is you doing? And so I wanted to point out the way that I was taught to paint is to load up your roller sleeve with paint and then start in the middle of the wall and take your roller sleeve up the wall and then take it all the way down the wall. And the reason why is because when you load your roller up with paint, wherever you put the roller on the wall, that is where the most paint is going to be. So if you start at the top of the wall and then you go down, or vice versa, you're pretty much going to be trying to drag the paint down or up. But if you start in the middle of the wall, it's easier to distribute the paint up and down because it's in the middle. And then after you get the coverage that is needed on the wall with the paint, you go back over it lightly. Like, I'm literally just rolling the roller on the wall. I'm not applying no pressure at all. And it is literally to put that texture, that pattern of the sleeve in the paint. It's called, what I call it anyways, when I was taught how to paint, it's called laying it out. You need to lay your paint out. And so when I was taught to paint, I was taught the 3 L's. Load it up, lay it on, lay it out. And so you load up your roller, you lay it on the wall. So you put it on the wall, you make sure your coverage is good. Cool. And then you lay it out. And at that point, you are rolling the roller on the wall with no pressure applied at all whatsoever. And your goal is to just make sure there's no lines, there's no runs, there's no bald spots where it's missing paint. But you just want the paint to have the same smooth look and finish. And that is what you're doing when you roll the roller over it like that.